Rabindranath Kaur, and since then we are friends. And he's there, and I'm also here from Japan, talking to you most of the time. So first of all, let me uh, say hello to the chair of the session and others who are sitting on the dais, and also the audience, whom I'm not seeing at the moment. I'm not seeing anybody from the audience, so hopefully I can see sometime their faces as well. Welcome and greetings from Japan. Now, though the issue has been given to me as energy kind of thing, energy development and Viksit Bharat, there are two parts I find, energy segment, and another is the Viksit Bharat part, which is as a way towards Viksit Bharat at 2047. I think my discussion would be based on the second part, which is a way towards Viksit Bharat. I don't think I'm a capable person to talk on the energy side, which is not my strength. So I'll be focusing my entire discussion on the way towards, on the second part of the seminar title, which is a way towards Viksit Bharat at 2047. Now, I'm not ready with any kind of slides or anything. I thought I had a talk with Professor Robi, and I told him, look, this time I'm not using any sorts of slides. I'll be just talking what I feel, and I have a strong feeling on India's development. I spent quite a lot of time in India, more than 10 years, and so on. So I know India. I read India. I write on India. So whatever I'll be talking today is basically from my perception, from my understanding, from my belief or faith kind of thing. So, if you look at the Viksit Bharat, the title itself has some Indianness. We are not talking about developed India. When you say developed India, it brings sort of Western connotation that how a country should be developed. And if you look at the development story, if you look at the narratives of development, standards of development, parameters of development, modern day development, in fact, all of them are given by the Western world, all of them, and we are happy to follow them all the time. I'm living in a country. I've visited whole of East Asia extensively, and I'm saying something, and I'll be relating that one at the end of this discussion today. So when you look at the development kind of parameters or the standard or the narrative, we find that it's entirely dominated by Western views, Western ideas, and many of the countries are trying to follow them in toto, directly in that way. Means whatever they say, the parameters they have set, and based on that, we try to evaluate us, we try to grow, and we try to develop. Before starting the whole discussion, my question would be, can or should India try to do the same? If yes, fine, then I understand the development process. If not, then what should be the development path? How, what could be the way towards the Viksit Bharat at 1947? Well, definitely, India cannot grow in isolation. India has to follow. India has to set some parameters or a standard for development, and that development parameters should be a combination of East and West. India is a civilizational nation. It is based on civilization. It has a history of say more than 5,000 years. So. If the development process is not backed by the ideas, knowledge, experience of the past, then nation could be another USA, another UK, another something, but it cannot last long. And I'll tell you that why my view is there, that if you just follow others and try to develop yourself on the basis of the model of others, your growth or your development process will become stagnated, and after some time, you will be another falling star. Falling star. As I said, I'll be relating this one in the context of East Asia. Anyway, so if India wants to grow, then what are the areas it has to? If India wants to grow and become developed, then what are the areas it has to develop? I believe that it's, of course, like any other countries, economic kind of development that is needed. Human resource development is the another area which is needed, and society as a whole has to develop, because if the society is not prepared for the development, then well, no country can develop. Then the political side is very important one, and soft power development is also needed. So for Indian development, what should be the approaches to these areas, economic areas, human resource development areas? What should be the approach for social development and so on? So let me start them one by one. Economic approach. What should be the approach for a Viksit Bharat at 2047? Well, India is a big country. In fact, is the most populated country in the world at the moment. More than 1.4 billion population, and it has become number one recently, overtaking China. So this very population, this very size of population, is a big issue, and for economic, if that size of population is not supported by economic development, then it will be a complete disaster. Nothing can save India if economic growth, economic prospect, economic progress is not it does not support the population that India has, or India will have. So in the past, we find that there are many experiments. I'm sorry, I'm not keeping physically that well, so please bear with me. India has to give India has to produce a lot of things for the population, and in the past you have seen the experiment of socialism, Nehru's economic philosophy. Then we have Indira's philosophy, and since 1991 we are finding a different kind of strategy, which is open market, or say market economy. Now, in the overall development, you have to keep in mind that India is still having a large population, where complete market orientation cannot help. It's not possible if India follows a complete market orientation where market will solve everything. Then it's impossible. Market will not go everywhere. Entrepreneur will not take all the initiatives to help the people everywhere. So government has a definite role, but can the role of the government be like that of Chinese government, where we find the growth is directed growth, development is directed one? That's a big question. Whether India can follow that sort of thing or not, that's kind of thing should be discussed. And in the future, I believe that there should be an approach where market role should be recognized, what we call as the mixed economy kind of thing. Maybe in the past, the mixed economic model India followed, uh, uh, we find that well, it was mostly a license rush kind of thing. Maybe that's not the way. So a compromised way has to develop, where the role of the government should be recognized, direction of the government for development should be recognized also, as Japan did in the 60s, 70s, or even 50s. But uh, if you look at Japan has got stagnated, and even today, most of the direction of development is decided by the government, and I find that Japan is stagnated or declining, because that level government directed kind of development has reached its plateau. So other sort of experiments are needed in the whole process. Anyway, if we again look at the focus of development, say if we look at the sectors, there are basically three sectors we call the agricultural sector for development. Then we have manufacturing, and then finally the service sector. Somehow there is a mismatch is in India because if you look at the sectoral development, service sector, which is more skill based, education based, other thing, it has become the dominant part of Indian economy. But to give employment to most of the people, maybe manufacturing sector, I should not use the term maybe, is the manufacturing sector that should be focused, where a lot of investment is required. And I believe that India is going through a good moment, probably because of the diversion of focus from China. And many of the companies, foreign companies, they're going to different places from China. It's Vietnam, it's Indonesia, and India. India is one place where we find that many of the manufacturing houses are going. But the external investment is not good enough for India's development. So maybe Indian entrepreneur, with the help of the government, should identify some of the areas where which are very much labor intensive, employment oriented kind of thing, and that should be there. So this is not the new thing I'm talking about. This has been in discussion for quite long time. But the fact is, we have to remember is that in the global development process, growth process, you just cannot ignore the local part. How local it is, local people would be more benefited, and that sort of thing cannot come from outside. It has to be designed, developed by the Indian people, Indian entrepreneur. You just cannot leave everything to the market. You just cannot leave everything to the FDI. Second, human resource development. I am on the view that this big size, very big size of population of India, is more than 1.4 billion. And every year we find that a huge number of people are joining in the labor market. Huge. It's a huge number. And the number every year, India is seen joining in the labor market could be bigger than the population of many of the countries in the world. Look for New Zealand. It's a country of only 3 million population, and if you look at India's say India's many cities in India, they have more than 3 million population, isn't it? So it's a huge country. So how human resource to be developed is the most important part. By the way, I tell you something that India has the potential, or say in that way, the whole of South Asia has the potential to make their population blue gold. I'm using the term blue gold recently. Blue gold means that human resource kind of thing. Or say I should instead of blue gold, I should rather use the term brown gold. Brown is the color we have. So if we can convert our population good human resource, then in the context of 1940, 1950, so 2040, 2050, 2060, these people will become gold. Is much precious than gold. And can you do that? And if we can, I hope education is the area where you have to again develop, go, and technical education and other education we have to incorporate. But at the same time, I'm of the view that if you look at the civilization, our education system, the Gurukul system, everything was based on something, based on our entire education was based on value-based system, value-based. The Western system, if you look at, and we are submitting to that sort of system nowadays, is based on market profitability, commerciality, everything. So can you go again? Can you follow a middle path where values would be there? Also, other things would be incorporated. So if we forget everything, the value part, then our society will be degenerated, as we are seeing in the US right at the moment. The society is the most, I mean, it's the richest country in the world, but look at the social development. They are very much dangerous, and we find that is happening because maybe they have not given that focus on the value system they had earlier. Now, social approach, the third one, a very important area. And I just want to share you one short story. I am in charge of a center, and we have a journal also in that center. And recently, I was thinking, means we don't have, but for the journal, we don't have any dedicated site. So I wanted to have a dedicated site for that. And I talked to one of my students, Indian student. He's a very bright guy. And I told him, can you help me to find out some vendors so that we can have develop one site for us? And he came into touch with two groups in India, and I had a meeting with both of them. And one group I met is maybe there's all of them, the vendors or the creators. They're of mid 20s, maybe lower of 20s age. And when we had a Zoom meeting, and what shocked me is I was very much shocked, by the way. The guy or the student, guy is not a good term, maybe. The vendor, the young IT specialist, he started talking to me like this. Hello, Munim. Hello, Munim. He uttered the word at least 10 times, Munim, Munim, Munim. And I tried to understand that he's a guy of 20. I'm 50 plus, and I'm a professor of a university. You can see my face, bald guy, looking to be quite old. And I was very shocked to see the approach, the westernization of the social values. That shocked me, to be honest. That shocked me that he could have told me differently. His address could have been different, and I found no sort of respect in his entire approach. Is it professionalism? Is it something else? And there means after talking with that guy, three of them were sitting inside, and all of them were addressing me as Munim, Munim, Munim. And I'm shocked that we are producing this sort of people, and this is not our culture. This is not our concept. This is not based on our social values, social hierarchy, social kind of respect mechanism we have developed for thousands of years. So, what do you like to follow? In the society is the fabric, who is if you don't tie it up, if you untie the fabric, then there will be big explosion. Can our social development model be based on the social values of the West? I don't think so, because it is means if you look at the history, history is in our DNA. What is DNA? DNA is the combination of past pictures. So history is also in our DNA. So my question comes to that very day is coming to my mind, that what we are trying to learn from the West. We need not to do that. And if you also, I'd like to bring you some story of Vivek Ramaswamy. He's the Indian face, American Indian face. He was fighting for the presidency this time, and what I found in one particular campaign meeting, here there was a big, there was a protest, and who were the protesters? If you look at the face, they all were Indians, Indian students. And what they're fighting for? They're fighting for climate, social justice in India. Yes, needed. But this very westernized form of social justice or climate warriors, if they start doing this thing, if they want to replicate that very thing in the Indian context, I'm a bit afraid we could be heading to another area. Now, let me go to the fourth point, which is political approach. What should be the political approach? I must congratulate or praise the Indian voters. At least they're giving or they're voting, they're showing their maturity in terms of selection of the leadership in India for last 2 decades, kind of thing. I'm very pleased, because if we see the political class of the West now, especially European class, a total disaster kind of thing. Look at the leadership, how far they're from reality, how far they're from the population of the country. At least Indian voters are doing that. That's very good. So in the development process, political class has a very big role, by the way. Don't forget it. And at the moment, we find that the European, especially, I'm very critic of the European kind of leadership at the moment. Uh, since 1945, people look at the development of Europe for security purpose. They are dependent on USA. But since the war in Ukraine began, I find that they have also surrendered their economic sovereignty to the US. They have become, sometimes it may not be a good term, vassal of USA. Does Indian political leadership follow this sort of thing? No. There should be a political separation. It should be, as I believe that your foreign minister is doing a very nice job at the moment. I have all praises for him, and we find that the India is showing that a different political class is emerging, where they are based on their roots, based on their civilization. So the final thing I want to talk about is this thing that so for development purpose, you need to have economic approach. You need to have the development for human capital. The social approach should not be ignored. The political class cannot be totally ignorant of different things, local things, and they cannot be totally induced by foreign ideas. They have to have the local ideas and so on. Now, why I'm talking of the local ideas? Just as I said, I'll finish. I have taken already about 20 minutes, so I'm going to finish soon. If you look at whole of East Asia, if I look at, I've been living here for more than 14 years. I traveled extensively in this part of the world, and somehow I have a feeling that whole of East Asia fallen into something which I may use as the American development trap. American development trap. In future, if you want to use this term, you can. And maybe, I mean, what is development? Or what is American development trap? It means if you go to China, if you go to South Korea, if you go to Singapore, if you go to Hong Kong, all of them are trying to be America, America. China, look at China, the way they're trying to, they want to be a second US in the world. Can India follow that sort of thing? Can India follow a Western development trap? I mean, fall in Western development trap. By the way, the result of following those sort of model has not brought long-term good for these nations. We see what is happening in Japan. They have destroyed by trying to follow the Western or say American development model. They have destroyed their family. They have destroyed religion, and the national concept is again another issue which is coming to a question. So if your civilization, if your development is not based on the family concept, religion concept, God concept, and if you go out of this, then you are going out of the civilization we created for 5,000 years, and they have done it, and I'm finding the results. Japanese story of 30 years of development, now falling every year. Singapore, South Korea, another Japanese story is developing or unfolding. And China, I'm not very bullish about Chinese development as well, because China could be again a Japanese story of 40 years, 50 years. If they continue to follow the same model, destroy family, destroy religion and everything, I'm afraid it could be problematic. Now, the careful part, India has to be careful because India's development is viewed as a sign of threat. Recently, New Zealand has stopped giving visa to the Indians. Canada, Australia, UK, they're taking care of development of India. And look at them. They all were the colonies of UK. Somehow India was. So these very people who ruled us for 400 years, 300 years, 200 years, they are not very happy. They'll try to block your development, demean you, demean you. I mean, in every way, they'll try to block that thing. They'll try to destroy the image of India, and attacks are coming. And that also is showing that, well, India might be doing better. So I'll end my space or say talk that well. If India cannot develop in an Indian way, that then it could be another development story of the East Asian countries. Maybe it's Japan, it's China, it's South Korea kind of thing. But India has to find a way where the development process is India's own. It's not borrowed one. it is developed in India and executed in India. Only then the Viksit Bharat of 1947 would be a long-lasting one. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful and enriching lecture. We are highly grateful to you for your sparing valuable time for us and delivering such an enlightening lecture. Thank you, sir, on the behalf of Shamlal College.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to request our principal, sir, to take his seat on the dais. So you can say some words to Barai, sir, also.
Good to see you. Could only listen to your enlightening lecture for last 10 minutes. So as I told you, I had some emergency in the morning. So so nice that all the way you have been there for us. So on behalf of Samlal fraternity, once again, I extend a very, very warm welcome to you. And so I think that's a connection.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ravi.
Thank you. Thank
Professor
you.
Ravi. Thank
Thank you.
Mr. Nikhil Srivastav, Controller Revenue, as our next esteemed speaker. Mr. Srivastav is basically a civil engineer who joined administrative services. He has master degree in developmental studies and awarded with gold medal for his exceptional performance. He has also worked as joint controller administration as well as pension. He also served as Deputy Controller, Department of Telecommunication, Government of India before joining the administrative services. He also worked as Assistant System Engineer in Tata Consultancy Services Limited. Now I would like to request our Principal Sir and Neena Shirish Ma'am to present a sapling and a token of gratitude to Mr. Nikhil Srivastav Sir. Now I would like to invite Mr. Nikhil Srivastav to deliver his lecture.
Thank you, everyone. A very good morning to all the esteemed speakers, the dignitaries on the dais, as well as the fellow academician and the learning enthusiast. Something which is missing in this intellectually heavy discussion is the smile. So I'll be dividing my entire words into two segments. One is something which is intellectually heavy so that you cannot smile. And one thing, the other half in which it can be, you can correlate. It will be something which I will be speaking out of my own experiences of managing this telecommunication sector of Delhi. So again, I would like to thank for inviting me on this platform where we are talking about the Baba Saheb and his possible vision on Viksit Bharat. As we embark on the journey of the Viksit Bharat, we can see that Dr. Ambedkar, who was an eminent jurist, economist, and social reformist, whose contribution in the India's economic and social wealth fabric is invaluable. Dr. Ambedkar's economic philosophy was deeply rooted into the principles of equity, social justice, and progress. He recognized the economic empowerment is a cornerstone of the societal transformation and national development. His vision for the economic development was not merely about the growth in numbers, but also about the inclusive growth that uplifts every stratum of the society. We are all familiar with the works and the efforts which the Dr. Ambedkar has brought into his time. I'm not a domain speaker for the sustainable energy like the last speaker who was Dr. Professor Muneem. He has given me but a bait, food for thought for this particular lecture. See, when we talk about 2047, it is something which will be very different from the world which we see today. Let us go back 2 or 3 decades, wherein in the early 2000s, we were talking about the automation. We were talking about the computers being introduced into society. We were talking about the jobs which will go away because of these computers. On the other hand, it happened that it became kind of an opportunity for us for a new growth. Similarly, we are in a similar juncture right now, where we are faced with the emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, machine learning. We are hearing it every day. And we are thinking that these are the things which will take our jobs away. These are the things which will transform the market, that transform the society that we are seeing today. To some extent, that is true. The world which we are seeing today, the challenges which we are facing today, which will be very different from what we will be facing, say, 20 years down the line or 23 years down the line that we are targeting right now. So to comprehend those challenges, to find out, to fathom those challenges is a challenge in itself. The boundaries between the physical, biological, and the digital world will blur. You might be hearing about the augmented reality. You might be hearing about artificial intelligence. You might be hearing about the machine learning. These will completely transform the society as we are seeing today. You might be hearing about the Apple Vision glasses, which have come up around a month back. These are a product of this is basically the first experimentation in the field of the augmented reality in general. So what we are dealing with in an era of 2047 is totally different than what we are seeing today. Our decision will not be irrational as it is today. It will be more informed. It will be more machine driven. It might be that we are taking an informed decision solely on the basis of machine learning algorithms. So what we are thinking about is very different. We are talking about the sustainable energy. As Professor Muneem has pointed out, that India has to carve out its own path of development. It does not have to emulate the other developed nations. We have emulated enough, and we have taken out right from the very developed society. We have taken out the best of it. Now it is our time to develop ourselves, develop our own unique way, how we can harness the potential that we are seeing today. We always say that our basic problem is population. Our hurdle of the growth is population. It is not true. We should think about it as something which is our strength. For example, 30 years back, when it was China and India was having a comparable economy, it grew because of its population. It grew because of its dividend that it had. Now India is on a similar stage where we are having a surplus population, a boom in the population, which we can utilize. As you all know, that not only India has the highest number of population, we also have one of the highest number of digital users. And certainly we will become the highest number of digital users in the entire world. So we can harness this potential. Maybe 20 years back, we could not even think of that India will be the one who will be leading the IT industry in the future. Now, similarly, we can think of India leading the AI industry or the ML industry in the future, maybe 10 years down the line or 20 years down the line. So we have to think in that way. And do not think that if you are not related to technology, then you are something which you cannot contribute into the India's growth of development. No. What I always believe is that a nation does not grow because of its engineers, because of its technocrats, because of its doctor. It grows because of its philosophers, because of its researchers, because of its academicians. So it is you who grows the society. It is you who carve out the path on which India has to tread. So you have to think in that perspective that yes, technological development will happen, but what will your role be in it, that you have to think of. When you're talking about economics, when you are talking about sustainable development, technology is something which will be intrinsic part of everything. Right now, you cannot remain away from your phone even for 20 minutes. Let away thinking of getting away, rid of it completely. So you have to think in that perspective. Whenever you're planning, whenever you are thinking about from any economic perspective, you have to think about the technology as a centric of it, or at least at the peripheral of it. Since I have given the opportunity to talk about the sustainable development, see, India is already having one of the lowest per capita carbon footprint in the world. It is not something that we have to learn. It is something we have to introspect. We have to rethink that, okay, what is it that we were doing it right? What is it that we have to learn from the other world, and how to integrate and harness the both, the possibility of the both. So it is not a tough task. In fact, the recycling, the reusability, that is something which has imbibed into our culture from the very beginning. You might be hearing or you might be seeing your family reusing the product. Every kitchen is full of the products which are reused. आपके जो भी डब्बे आते होंगे बाहर के, आपकी मदर, आपके फादर, they might be reusing those particular dabbas. That is nothing, but that is something which is a part of the sustainable energy. When we are talking about sustainable energy, it is also about the sustainable development. See, once a beautiful line was said that poverty is the biggest culprit when it comes to the sustainable development or sustainable energy growth. India is right now leading the world in the solar energy development, and hopefully it will become the leader soon when it comes to the solar energy development. So we already have the potential, we already have the youth, we already have the manpower, we already have the technocrats, we already have the academicians, we already have the researcher. We only have to introspect and harness the potential of all. Be very clear that in the 2047, the world will be very different. Yes, it will be very different from the time we gain independence also. For example, right now, even the vision which our forefather had, even the vision of Ambedkar, even the vision of Gandhi, that is relevant even in today's time also. And that will be relevant even in the upcoming time also. We might be thinking that, okay, the world is very different in the 1947. The perspective might differ. But the core thought, the core ideals that our forefather had during the time of the constitution making, that the Baba Sahib had, for example, the intrinsic growth, the collective development of the society, the development of the individuals and the society as a whole. For example, the growth of the women, the growth of the marginalized society, that is still valid, holds valid today. And that will hold valid even 30 years down the line, or maybe 100 years down the line also. So all the things that our father did, all the perspective that our father had, all the vision that our father had, will hold valid even now, even in the future also. When we talk about the sustainable energy development, when we talk about the technological revolution, it will be brought in by the people. It will not be brought in by the technology. See, ample of technology is available even in today's time. Chat GPT, the other AI software, these are already available with you. These are the tools for us to use. Let us not confuse it that technology alone will drive the future. It will be the thought, the thinking, the research-based orientation that we will have in the future that will shape our future. Now when we talk about the Viksit Bharat, we are not talking about the developed world, as Professor Muneem has also pointed out. We are not talking about the developed world as we are seeing in the other developed nations of today. We are not talking about destroying the social fabric. As he has rightly pointed out, we are not talking about the destroying the social fabric or the society or the hierarchy that we have built over the past 5,000 years. We are talking about utilizing all the knowledge that we had from the past 5,000 years and how we can incorporate that knowledge in building a better world. Now, we have in each and every segment, the policy makers, they're trying to figure out together with the business owners, together with the academicians, together with the researchers, so as to what are the challenges that we will be facing in the future. And it is you, the students who are in this session today, the students who are outside, and the students who are going to join us in the future. These are the ones, and the professor, obviously the professor that we are having today. We together are the ones who will be building the nation of Viksit Bharat of 2047. It is not something which will come out of its own. It is not something which we can imagine right on from this particular forum itself or by sitting in our AC chambers. It will be something which we have to think. It is something which we have to incorporate. It is something which we have to collaborate from the very ground itself. We have to realize the basic ground realities also, that today we are having one of the highest population, alongside we are having one of the highest proportion and population of poverty also. We have to understand that how this technology, how this Viksit Bharat will help those people, those marginalized society, to get out of the marginalization. We have to think about how to make them capable, how to build capacity into them so that they will also contribute. We have to rethink about how we differ from the developed world, which has taken almost 1,000 years for its development chain. How we can develop in the next 20 years. That is a tough challenge. That is not something which we can simply think of by sitting around a round table. That is something for which we have to walk in the ground. That is something for which we have to realize the social fabric of the entire nation. We have to acknowledge the diversity which we have in the nation. And then we have to come up with a plan. And this plan, as Dr. Ambedkar in his time has pointed out, should not be centralized, should not be top driven. It will be decentralized. It will be something which every institution on the ground will be building on its own. See, India is a diverse nation. It is not like that one size will fit all. For example, an education model of UP will not fit for an education model of Kerala. Kerala has a different dynamics, has a different social fabric, has a different level of literacy, which UP has. Similarly, the challenges which Kerala will have, which will be very different from what we will have in the UP or say other northern India states. So we have to acknowledge that a single size fit all will not work in this nation. Rather, what we can think of is getting the ideas from the ground. We are always famous for Jugaad. We all must have heard. What is Jugaad? Jugaad is basically the ground innovation that we produce in the limited cost. That is something which is unique. That is something which fits only that niche situation. So we have to think about such perspectives when we are thinking about Viksit Bharat. Viksit Bharat will all about be of decentralized planning, will be of decentralized way of development, as our Bhimrao Ambedkar Sahab has pointed out during his time. So his thought, our forefathers' thought, still remains relevant even today. Even for the societies which are so-called developed, are even experimenting with the thoughts and ideas of our forefathers of our nation. They are replicating the ideas of local governance. In fact, capitalism was thought as one of the best ideas that humanity has ever had. And it was challenged. It was molded. The economies were mixed with the other ideas. Similarly, we have to rethink. We have to cater to the innovation. We have to think about how we can make our next generation more capable towards innovation. See, after the advent of the AI, after the advent of the advanced robotics, what I can see is that all the repetitive tasks, all the tasks which needs a manual intervention of a specific nature, other than that, that will go away, that will vanish. If you are creative, if you are innovative, if you have something new, then only you will remain in the society as relevant, because all other jobs that will be transformed. I'm not saying that will go away, that will be transformed, and that will become less relevant. Already they have become less relevant. For example, some of the jobs such as copywriter, some of the repetitive jobs such as narrator, such as something which can be replicated by AI, that is already being challenged. But if you are creative, if you are, until the time the AI develops the general intelligence. If you are creative, then you are relevant. So be creative, be innovative. Do not think that merely by copy pasting academic research, something will happen, or merely by copying the work of others, something will happen. No, we have to be innovative, and that innovation does not have to be a replication from the developed world. We have to be innovative to create solution for our own nation, for our own reality, which is very different from the developed world. We have reality. We have to acknowledge that we even now have a vast difference between the literacy rate of the women and the men. We have to think that there is still a marginalized society who is discriminated, which is not allowed to enter into the society, into the mainframe of the society. We have to acknowledge these realities while making or while formulating our innovative programs. We have to think about that a vast majority of ours still lives in the rural areas. When we talk about the 5G, when we talk about the 4G, there is still a vast majority that is still struggles for the basic connectivity, phone connectivity, mobile connectivity. While innovating, we should think about the digital divide that is there between our elderly population and the young populace. We have to think about how we can cater to that population, which will be divided even further in the future, which will be alienated because of this technological revolution that we are seeing in the future. And mind you, this technological revolution that we are seeing is unprecedented, and it will pace up even further in the future. You might have heard that industrial revolution took hundreds of years to kick off. Agriculture revolution took thousands of years. IT revolution took around 2 or 3 decades to come up into its own acceleration. What AI revolution will take is merely less than a decade. What the product of the AI revolution will take will be hardly a couple of years. So we have to think in that pace that the people, the society, which was alienated earlier in the hundreds of years, in the decades, will be alienated even at a larger pace when this technological revolution will pace up. So think from that perspective. When we are thinking about e-education, think about the people who are not able to access the internet even today. Think about the people who are not able to access or have the purchasing power of the digital devices that we are seeing today. Yes, there's still a vast majority of our populace that has a monthly income less than a value of a smartphone. As I say, the value of 2000 rupees is not equal in your pocket and someone who is burning under the sunlight. These are very different. We have to think about, when we are thinking about innovation, when we are thinking about research, we have to think about those realities also. We have to cater to those realities in order to bring them, in order to make them more capable, in order to make them more innovative. And it is you who will do that. It is you who will produce such solutions. It is you who will shape the future of 2047 as we are seeing today. So I will appreciate if you have any ideas, even in the field of telecommunication, even in the field of sustainable energy development, even if you have any idea related to any field which you want to bring into the perspective of policymakers. You have very beautiful institutions in the name of Niti Aayog, in the name of other policy making institutes, wherein you can put in your ideas. They are public forums. If you go and see the websites of any department, you will see that the policy making is generally now collaborative, where you can collaborate, where you can contribute. You take about any policy, any act, any bill that is now being brought it into the public, where you can comment, where you can share your own perspectives. Even during the act making, even during the bill making, even while making the very fundamental rules, the public is consulted. And when I say public, it is basically targeted at the academia, at basically the innovators, basically the industrial players who are actually into that market or who want to enter that market. It is for the thinkers. If you think that you can think differently, if you have some idea that you can contribute, you can simply, gone are the days where you have to climb the high stairs. You can simply log into your mobile, you can simply go to the websites, you can see what government is currently discussing, and you can contribute into that discussion. It doesn't matter what age you are, it doesn't matter what level you are, or whether your idea is good enough or not. If it is good enough, it will be incorporated. If it is not good enough, it will wait the time. Basically, all your ideas will be listened to. It is not like that you are now the passive beneficiary. You are now an active player in the nation's development. And when I say you, it is the entire nation that I'm talking about. We are the one who will bring about what Viksit Bharat we want to see, which we want to live in, which we want our next generation to live in. So it is us who have to collectively do the effort. Acha, around 2 decades back, we used to hear, or around 3 decades back, we used to hear about that the world is coming to an end because ozone is depleting, because 2 degree rise in temperature will happen, and then every shoreline will be submerged, every crop will die. That did not happen. Why? No one is talking about the ozone depletion anymore. Why? Something would have happened. What has happened is a collective collaborative effort has reaped its result. Now ozone is not depleting, it is sustained. Similarly, in case you are feeling that something which is daunting right now, which we are thinking that, okay, after 20 years, it will go away, it will vanish, it will create a threat to the society. It can all be dealt with a collective collaborative action, provided we think and we act. So with this, I would end my words. I believe that all of us will have something to think of. All of us, maybe in our home, maybe in our discussion, will have something intellectually sound to contribute for the Viksit Bharat. In case you feel that you have arrived at to that stage, write it down, jot it down, and contribute. We will make it sure at the policy making level that such ideas, such contributions, they are incorporated, they are molded into the policy of Viksit Bharat that will be seeing in the future. Thank you. Thank you everyone for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, for your enlightening and brainstorming session. Thank you, sir, for sharing your expertise and knowledge with us and presenting the current scenario of India with us and showing the future directions for sustainable living and Viksit Bharat. Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Dr. Nirja Nigam. She is an associate professor in the Department of Finance and ICN Business School, France. She is an expert of corporate finance, financial analysis, financial strategy, and corporate governance. Her research interest includes resolution of financial distress, financial innovation, corporate finance, corporate governance, entrepreneurship, and sustainable development. She has collaborated on several projects with Ministry of Research, Luxembourg, Standard and Poor's, Strasbourg University, etc. Due to some emergent meeting and traveling, she couldn't join us today, but we hope in the near future we would get opportunity to listen to her. Thank you, ma'am. Now proceeding further, I would like to invite our session chairs and co-chairs of the four concurrent session which happened earlier in the morning. Now I would like to invite Dr. Abhay Pandey sir on the stage, and I request Principal sir and Neena Shirish ma'am to felicitate Dr. Abhay Pandey sir. Now I request a session co-chair, Ashni Dham ma'am, to come on the stage, and I request again Principal sir and Neena Sheesh madam. For the technical session B, I would like to request session chair Kavita Meena ma'am on the stage, please. And I request Anuj sir to be present on the dais. Now I also request Dr. Akash Soni sir to come on the stage, and he was the session co-chair of technical session B. Now I request Dr. Bisla Devi and co-chair Dr. Amanpreet Kaur ma'am on the stage. And I also request Dr. Sunny Agarwal sir to be present on the dais, please. If anybody want to ask anything regarding the lecture of Mr. Nikhil Srivastav, you can ask the question. We can take up some questions.
Okay, I'm here also to take any question if there is any.
Okay, sir. If anyone has the question.
You want me to discuss about the jobs which are not affected or which will be affected? See, they will not be, in my perspective, in my limited perspective, there will not be a single job which will remain untouched because of the AI. See, we have to think about that we are not it is not a technology. It is a replication of human mind that we are seeing in the future. When we talk about general intelligence in the AI, that is something which is a replication of a human brain. That is how we think. When we talk about the neural networkings in the AI, that is basically a network, is a replication of how we think. If you delve deeper into the AI, it is not about the technology alone. See, do not compare it with the computers. Do not compare it with other industrial innovations that we have. AI is very different. AI is something which will transform your entire social fabric itself. it will delve its root into each and every technology, into each and every social sphere which you are seeing. Have you seen the sci-fi movies? We all must have seen. We have seen how the AI have taken over the world. Let us not be that negative, but AI will take over the world as something which will be a fundamental backbone. It will be a basis for each and every technological innovative thinking, or any other work that you are seeing right now. So if you ask me, there will not be a single sector which will remain aloof, untouched because of AI. But do not be negative. Do not be, so, watching AI with those limited glasses. AI is something which is a beautiful thing. It is something which is a tool which you can harness. For example, what you are studying here, BCom honors. So when we are talking about the commerce, you might be thinking about some of the models, you might be working on some of the models, which financial models or say something decision making models. These all will be driven by the AI, but making those models will be on your shoulders. So it is not like the technocrat alone will be making that model. No. In fact, technology will be something which will be backfoot when it comes to the AI. Right now, we can develop websites solely with the help of AI. Right now, we can make code solely with the help of AI in the basic language. If you do not know Excel formula, there are tools available, GPT tools available in the Excels also, where you only have to write plain English and it will make a formula. What is changing? The formula, the the basis of the work is not changing. AI is simply assisting you with your work. So do not think as something it will replace. It will not replace the job, in my perspective. It will transform your job. It will make your life easier. It will make your repetitive task obsolete so that you can think more in the innovative stage. So if you ask me, for your question, it is no. Not even a single sector will remain aloof of the AI.
I'll just add to प्रियांश, आप लोगों का प्रॉब्लम है, आप लोग पढ़ते ही नहीं हो, ठीक है? तो एक बहुत ही फैंटास्टिक किताब है, शायद 5 साल पहले आया था, 5-7 साल पहले, हिस्ट्री ऑफ मैनकाइंड, द सेपियंस, है ना, युवल हरारी। तो किताब में वो लिखते हैं, ही इज विजुअलाइजिंग ए सिनेरियो जहां पे आपने जॉब लॉस की बात करी, एआई की बात करी। जस्ट इमेजिन ए सिचुएशन, ये तो होना ही है, एआई द वे इट इज कमिंग, बहुत सारे मूवी में आपने देखा ही होगा। और जो इमीडिएट सेक्टर्स, जैसे निखिल सर ने बताया था आप लोगों को, जितना आपका जैसे ड्राइवर्स कहिए, पुलिसिंग कहिए, बहुत मिनिमल हो जाएगा। बट उसको कंट्रोल करने के लिए जो एआई आप डिप्लॉय करोगे, ड्रोन उड़ाने के लिए भी तो चाहिए बंदे, ठीक है? डाटा मैनेज करने तो बंदे चाहिए, कहाँ से वो दैट। सो आपको कंटिन्यूअसली अभी फिक्स सेट आपने बिकम कर लिया तो उससे काम नहीं चलेगा आपका। बिकम भी आपको ऑनलर्न करना पड़ेगा, कुछ न्यू क्वालिफिकेशन लेना पड़ेगा, ताकि यू हैव टू मैनेज दैट एआई, यू हैव टू मैनेज दोस रोबोटिक। So only what he said in the last transformation of the jobs, that is it, that's the most real thing. Only one sector will be offset, other sector will give you a lot of opportunities. कॉर्पोरेट, आप तो बीकॉम का स्टूडेंट है बच्चे, मर्जर एक्विजिशन पहले बहुत हवा होता था कि सारे वो टेक ओवर हो जाएगा, जॉब लॉस हो गया, उससे इंडिया में पॉपुलेशन प्रॉब्लम है, पॉपुलेशन बहुत ज्यादा है। अदरवाइज देयर इज नो इश्यू, देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ स्पेस इज देयर। एक सेक्टर में अगर लॉस होता है, ऑफसेट हो जाए, दैट कैन बी सेट अप इन अनदर सेक्टर, मोर अपॉर्चुनिटीज क्रिएटेड इन अनदर सेक्टर। ये हमेशा पीछे भी चलता रहा, आगे भी चलेगा। सो एआई आने के डरने की बात नहीं है, बट द क्वेश्चन इज वी हैव टू वेरी क्विकली अनलर्न, और जो भी ट्रेंड है आपको न्यू कोर्सेस, न्यू स्किल्स को अडॉप्ट करना पड़ेगा, देन यू विल बी रेडी फॉर वन जॉब। हम लोग का जमाना खत्म होने पे आ रहा है, क्योंकि हमने एक जॉब पे स्टिक कर लिया, विल गो विद दैट। आपके जमाना में ऐसा नहीं होगा, you will have to change your jobs multiple times with multiple skill sets. That's okay. Thank you.
Thank you. See, when we are talking about the gap that has bridged up in the past few decades, if I talk about my time, I am basically an engineer. So when I talk about my time, what we used to read and what we used to see, there was a huge gap. I am a civil engineer by my degree. So what we learned during those academic programs and what we saw in the field were totally different. However, when I see the current generation, what they are learning and what the field or the what is happening in the current world is almost there. So when we talk about the gap or bridging the gap, we must think about collaborating more with the current market players, with the current leaders, with the current innovators. See, as Sir has also pointed out, see, we have to unlearn and we have to relearn very fast. We have to do it at a pace to which it will not become obsolete, because the word obsolete will be squeezed up in the future. What is obsolete right now maybe is of a thing which was 10 or 20 years back. What will be obsolete 10 years ahead of us will be something which will be 2 or 3 years back. So we have to think that in order to keep up the pace between academicians and the industrialists, we have to keep inviting, we have to keep learning from them, and we have to innovate in our academic institutions, in our researches, and we have to produce something which can be replicated by the industrialists. Only then this gap will reduce. Because otherwise, what will happen by the time your course will end of 3 years, the entire thing which you have taught that will become irrelevant, or the entire thought which we have put in, the entire thought would have transformed into something else, transformed into something better. You can, even right now, you can see that the people who have learned the AI 2 years back, they have become obsolete. Some of the tools have become obsolete even when it was introduced 2 years ahead. You remember cassette CDs? You remember the DVDs which came up after that? The span of each and every technology was reduced. For example, the cassettes, the magnetic tapes, they worked for almost 2 or 3 decades. And we were using the same VCRs, we were using the same tape recorders. Then came CD, which then came floppy, and then came some other devices. Then came the compact disc, which completely revolutionized, but stayed only for a decade or so. Then came DVD, which did not even see a decade also. So we have to think that if we are teaching the students here, if we are doing research on something which will take years, then we have to continuously keep innovating, keep integrating the market into our own researches, into our own studies. Only then you will have this gap reduced. Otherwise, this gap will be there and will be increasing with the pace at which we are going today.
I think Munim sir is there. He can share some lights on the Japanese perspective, industry and academia linkages. That is very important there. So in your university also, where I have also seen.
Okay, thank you, Professor Ravi, and I must congratulate Mr. Nikhil Srivastav for his fascinating kind of views and ideas, and an area which basically his domain, and I have no idea at all in that area, in fact, and the artificial intelligence kind of thing. So before going into Professor Robi's kind of query, I tell you a story, not a story. I should not use the term story. It's an incident. Recently, we had a problem in our university with master's thesis. Two theses were very good, I mean, very well written kind of thesis. And immediately the examiner, one examiner passed both the theses. But other examiner, she found out, I'm using she because she was she found out something was missing, something is wrong. What is that? In one thesis, I particularly remember that out of 54 references, four references, only 4 could be traced and 50 could not be traced. Okay. And they're so beautifully generated, very beautifully generated. And then we had a meeting of 41 faculty members, and we tried, all of us, we tried to find out other references. And at the end, it was we called the student that, please come and explain your position, that why it is so. And at the end, he confessed that it was AI generated thesis. The whole thesis was AI generated. And also the references, the false references were created by AI, you know. And in the academic world is such a big problem. It was a huge problem. And unfortunately, both the students failed. We had to fail them. That signaled us something that, well, don't totally trust these sources. There could be problem. AI could be even cheat. I mean, cheating is there by the AI itself. And we had this problem. And AI is of course important, but the students who are sitting in front, maybe I'm not seeing your faces. Be careful that plagiarism in academic arena is still a very serious kind of offense. We don't admit it, and you should not do it. And second point, maybe I'm talking about a bit of, should I say the term unlearn? Both Nikhil and my friend has used the term unlearn. By the way, if you learn something, it never can be unlearned. No, unfortunately, no. You just can keep it somewhere else for a while. It is there in your memory. Okay. You can, when that thing appears to you, you say, oh, I learned it, but I learned it wrongly. That is the case. It just cannot unlearn anything. No way. And recently, I'm giving again a story of, you see, in the Ukraine war, Ukraine is trying to fight, get F-16, Western F-16, and they tried to teach the Ukrainian fighters with the F-16 kind of thing. And it was a big problem. The fighters, I mean the pilots, the fighter pilots, they could not take it. Means there is something called that muscle learning. Muscle itself has a memory. Okay, muscle memory. You call it muscle memory, and that muscle memory has, in fact, there are many Ukrainian fighters. I mean pilots. They went there in the West, and they said after some time, after 3 months or 4 months training, some of them had said that no, you just cannot take it because you are not, I mean, the learning process he or she has gone through could not be, they could not avoid it. So when so they try to hook up, or they try to recruit new kind of agents, new kind of very young kind of pilots, and they're trying to teach them entirely new kind of thing, so that they don't have to unlearn anything. In the way I'm saying that, well, you just cannot unlearn. Unlearning is not possible, by the way. And yeah, the third portion, industry and academic kind of collaboration. Yes, so we are finding recently one faculty member from Sri Lanka. He has opened a company. Is himself is an entrepreneur as well as a professor here, and it's about the data management and AI kind of thing. The AI we are talking about. And initially, we find that the students are directly employed in that company. They spend 2 or 3 months in that company, and we are finding that they're coming up. They have already developed 2 or 3 programs, maybe AI generated programs, or I don't know. I have no technical knowledge of those kind of thing. That is there. Tata, not Tata, Toyota, and other big companies, they're coming to our campus for recruitment purpose. But when it comes to the question of collaboration, I find very interesting, something very interesting, that in Japan, no big company sponsor any kind of chairs. Like if you go to institution in the West, even in India, I found that there could be chairs by Jindal, there could be chairs by other companies, but in Japan, it's not there. That is very surprising. And in terms of real collaboration, maybe with some defense purpose or defense research, some top laboratories of some top universities, they are collaborating with the universities. But in general, this sort of collaboration is minimum in Japan. Okay, somehow that is very interesting. I think that gives you the answer to Rovi's query?
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, moving further, I would like to thank Professor Neena Shirish ma'am for the smooth conduction of this highly thought-provoking and insightful sessions. A heartfelt gratitude to all the speakers of the session for their enlightening and enriching lectures and sparing their valuable time for contributing significantly in our conference. We are highly grateful to you, sir. Now, as we left with one session chair and session co-chair for the felicitation, now I would like to invite Dr. Varun Bhandari and Dr. Himanshi Kalra on the stage, and I request Principal Sir and Neena Shirish ma'am for their felicitation and present them a token of gratitude. Pavan Kharakwal, sir. He is not here actually. Now I request all the session chairs and co-chairs and the coordinators on the stage for a photograph. I also request Richa ma'am and Prem ma'am to come here on the stage, please. Pradeep sir and so I request Vivekanand sir, Diksha ma'am, और उनका क्या नाम है?
Give Vivek some space so that his face could be seen. Vivek, I'm not seeing you. Come forward, Vivek. No, 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 no. Say, please go to not that side, other side. Yes, yes. Okay, I'm sorry to push the other professor out in the from the. I'm seeing you. I'm taking a photograph also, a screenshot. Okay.
So I request all the delegates, speakers, participants, students, and scholars who are present here to come here on the stage for the photograph.
Dear all, so I think I'm leaving for the moment. So enjoy your session and congratulations, Professor Rovi and all. I hope everything will
Thank
go
you.
well.
Thank
Yes,
you so
you
much,
can
sir.
leave.
Thank you so much, sir, for
Thank
being
you.
with
Thank
us. We are
Thank
highly
you.
grateful. Thank you.
Thank
Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar, namaskar.
Your tea is
I'm missing the mark. I'm seeing you are giving mark to everybody, and I did not get one. So next time, please keep one for me.
Yes, sir. We
Right.
will definitely keep.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.